broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
So today we have Melissa Davis with Backagent here, and I picked on them because I do use Backagent with my brokerage firm, and really been very, very happy with their system, and also how well they listen to feedback from their vendors that are using the product to keep their product up to date and innovative. And so we're doing kind of a battle of the different transaction platforms and brokerage platforms out there. And I wanted to interview Backagent because I really love their profile for brokerage firm as well as individual agents. So, and not a lot of them have that. Some will have just, for individual agents, but it doesn't coincide with what the brokerage needs on the back end as a brokerage firm. So this is why I'm interviewing Melissa from Backagent. So Melissa, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Amy. All right, so we'll go through and just kind of give a basic overview of kind of what Backagent is in general. So the space that we really kind of compete in is obviously transaction management, but also with a few other additions added in with the concept of an intranet, an extranet that actual clients and vendors can log into, as well as a marketplace. Probably one of the biggest differences between Backagent and some of the other products out there is this concept of structured compliance, which we'll get into in just a bit. So we're really all about the workflow and the compliance aspects of the transaction. So it's much more than just kind of online document storage. And I think that there's a lot of misconception out there as well in regards to what transaction management really is. Most people see that as forms creation, e-signature platforms, that sort of thing. And we really feel like there's a difference there. So we actually work with those different products and have integration points. And I'll flip through a few slides of that in a moment as well. But we're really a little different in that we're all about, the compliance aspect, not only from a broker standpoint, but also from an agent standpoint.
Well,
so we kind of jump in.
I really wanted you guys to talk about it because I do think that there's the big myths out there that they're hearing about lion dust, they're hearing about, transaction rooms. And what they don't understand is it's not compliance necessarily. And you could be putting yourself at risk for lack of documentation that you may be having on a transaction. So that's why, to me, it's so good what you guys have from a broker side, just as well as I'm still a practicing broker. So as an individual agent, when I'm doing a deal, to kind of make sure, oops, I didn't miss something. So That's why I really love what you guys have out there. So what I call CYA, cover your ankles.
Exactly. I like that. Cover your ankles. All right, so we'll jump right in here and let's get into kind of what makes us different. And I touched on this a moment ago, but it's really all about this concept of intelligent transaction management through this, this pioneering of structured compliance that is really near and dear to us. So we really feel like it goes way beyond basic workflow checklist and really brings in the concept of not only storage of documents in kind of a random folder somewhere. And this is really specific. So we kind of walk the agent down this path of compliance, giving them along the way auto due dates and required actions and notifications so that they really can't get it wrong. Not only does that completely streamline the process for the agent, but it also streamlines the management end of this for the broker. So no longer do we have brokers out there hoping that they get all the documents they need. They know they're going to get the documents they need because the agent can't submit the file without all of the required documents. And then it really does come down to just simply managing the file for what it is. Are the I's dotted? Are the T's crossed? Is it filled out correctly? Is it executed properly? Not about, I'm missing these 10 and let me fight with the agent trying to get that in, or, fight trying to get it in general. So we really do kind of take the guesswork out of that, which agents seem to love as well. They know they're covered, and then the broker knows they're covered as well. So if we jump right in here, and this will give you kind of a bit of a preview into kind of our active transaction panel. So over to the right here, you'll see this concept of this path of compliance that we kind of walk down. So we ask a series of questions up front that really does set the stage for the compliance of the entire transaction. So the agent really can't get it wrong. It's gonna, if I'm doing a listing or I'm working with a buyer, or this is a referral, it's a completely different custom workflow based on not only the city and the area and the MLS that we're in, but also down to each brokerage. I mean, one broker versus another, 2 miles down the road may require different forms, proprietary things, in-house forms, that sort of thing. So we really do kind of fully customize that workflow for them so that it really does function the way that particular brokerage functions. And we'll move on here. And so this is showing you a little bit about this concept of required document placeholders. So as the agent's going through, we kind of walk them through a series of events. So if I'm in a start phase, am I in a showing phase, am I under contract? And as they move through that workflow, we're prompting them for information along the way. So you'll notice that top section there, there's some orange tabs. And as the agent moves through the workflow, we're asking them questions that are doing several things actually. Not only are they populating calendars that they can sync with their mobile devices and their phones of all of their due diligence dates, but it's also prompting them with required placeholders so that they know exactly what forms they're going to need to get created. Now, where most people consider transaction management is what we really consider truly what it is forms creation. And that piece we don't handle, but we do have connections. So we have a connection point with Zip Form Plus, which makes adding in the autofill documents really simple. They can click and choose to create a document in Zip Forms. We have it embedded in our interface. It opens up. It pre-fills forms for them. They can launch into the full Zip Form Plus interface and then send for signature, whether that's through Zip Forms, through DocuSign, third-party vendors. It makes it really simple. When the document comes back, they just simply pull it right back into our system. Now, the one thing I don't have noted on this slide is that we also have the same type of integration now with DocuSign and also with .loop. So if I'm going in and I'm using .loop to create my forms, we can actually give them a launch point to facilitate creating that loop for them and getting those forms back into Backagent kind of seamlessly. Alrighty, so this slide's just showing us a little bit about the workflows. This is a great example. Over to the left of the screen, you'll see this concept of dates and info questions. So this is what really prompts the agent. It's a series of quick questions. It's the type of question that every agent is going to run through their mind anyway. And here, if they just click a quick button, it's doing so much more for them. It's building that custom document requirement stack list. It's putting all those dates on their calendar. And so instead of kind of jotting this down and making mental notes or stickies saying, it was built before 1978, I'm going to need a lead-based paint addendum, or it's an estate sale, I'm not going to need the seller's disclosure. We kind of walk them through those commonplace questions and then build this entire list for them. The checklist, which you'll see over to the right, is a true checklist. So this isn't what most brokers consider a checklist. That's what we do through Dates and Info, really customizing that. But this is quite simply a checklist that not only can the broker come in and kind of custom create and set up, but the agents can add, they can add their piece into this as well. So it's kind of a dual checklist. I may see things that the broker is requiring that actually spawns auto due dates on my calendar, but then I can come in and say, here's the 10 or 15 things that I want to remind myself to do at these different phases of the deal. Maybe those are date driven and they're putting events on my calendar as well. So the checklist is a really popular feature and really a great way to blend broker requirements along with the agents, kind of what makes them shine. So this screen is showing us a little bit about taking the focus back into the management aspect of Backagent. So it's really nice for a manager, a broker, whoever's approving files to be able to come in and quickly see kind of at a glance everything that's going on. When you don't have a system like this in place that really kind of pulls that full circle, it's really easy to get bogged down at the end of the month. Agents come in, they're handing you, multiple folders of documents, or they're popping them into Dropbox or emailing them to you worse, and you really can't set the expectation for workflow at the brokerage level. So here you can very quickly and easily gain that visibility into seeing exactly kind of what's going on a daily basis with all of the transactions within your brokerage. Our transaction management, kind of one step further here, is the approval of documents. So we make this really easy as well. Now there's this concept of agent creates the file, they walk through this kind of compliance workflow, submit the file at the end. That's all fine and great, but we're finding that more and more brokers are really wanting more oversight into this. They're wanting to approve listing docs, within a few days of the listing being put into MLS. They're wanting to be notified at the contract phase so that we can create disbursements earlier on now. So this really does kind of help facilitate that. They can come in and run a report and almost in real time see every document that an agent has added to their transaction so that they can jump in and immediately let the agent know, hey, you're good to go, or there's an issue here, let's get this corrected now, instead of me seeing it for the first time, 3 days before you're looking for a disbursement trying to close. All right, so this is just a quick little screen showing you kind of a document editor. This is a great little tool that agents love. It allows them to scan bulk into the system and kind of bust that up and drop those into appropriate placeholders. So this concept of going through the workflow, Backagent telling the agent everything that's needed, and now they just simply drag and drop those documents off. So the compliance is there once again, allowing the broker to be confident that when a file is submitted to them, they're going to get the entire file. They're not missing documents. Now they're just truly looking for the compliance of the document. And that's just kind of another screen that shows you a little bit of that. All right, so now that we've kind of gone over this concept of the structured compliance that is Backagent, any questions, Amy, that you had for me that I can answer? And then if not, I'll touch on a few other fun little aspects of Backagent.
Well, no, one thing that is crucial that I forget about, because that's kind of my business wife side of handling the business, is that activity calendar of like closings that are happening, because a brokerage needs to know that. And so there's really no other system that does that, I think, as well as what you're doing. And again, some of these other systems that are designed just for transaction platform for the agents don't touch on that brokerage side. So that was a big deal for me to have.
Awesome. Yeah, it really is. It's nice. I can imagine if I were running a brokerage and had a handful of agents, out running around making deals and closing files, it would be incredibly helpful to be able to see that in advance, to know that, hey, I've got 3 closings on Friday or 2, this month. Not only to see that from a physical approval type standpoint, and just a sanity standpoint, but also to kind of help predict from a pipeline standpoint, what do we look like this month? How's this doing? Which agents are performing better? Who could maybe benefit from a little more training or mentoring and that sort of thing? So it really does give you a lot of really fun insight. And there's also one thing we didn't touch on here is tons of reporting mechanisms all throughout Backagent to really help the broker understand exactly how the agents are functioning on a daily basis, where it's working, where it's not working, and like I said, who may need a little more mentoring. And the agents have a host of reporting available to them as well to really help them manage pipeline and production and kind of how they're doing along those lines. So the other aspect of Backagent is this concept of a brokerage intranet, or what I like to call an ecosystem. So we kind of really wrap this intranet system around the compliance-driven part of Backagent, this transaction management. This allows for a couple things. One, from an agent perspective, especially with a lot of the bigger brands, they've got these intranets with lots of great information, but a lot of times that's overwhelming for the agent. They go there and, there's just millions of folders of things to look through, and, they're not really sure exactly what is relevant to them and their business, where they're located and the way they function. So, in the bigger brands like that, it's nice for a local broker to be able to pull that information down, pop it into a Backagent intranet so that the agent really is filling in on a kind of a hyper-local level. When they log in, they know that the material they're seeing is going to be important to them. It's going to be local to them. The front page commentary, the social aspects, it's all their office, kind of their brokerage. So this is an example of kind of a start page of Backagent, what it looks like when an agent or a staff member, for that matter, or a manager logs in. So they've got kind of this home screen feel, if you will. across the top, there's little tabs to kind of let them know what's going on. Do they have leads? Do they have new email to look at? Do they have tasks? What's just kind of happening in my bucket today? But then they also have this kind of social aspect where they can get in and they can post. They can talk about vendor recommendations and just things going on in the community that are all really geared for peer-to-peer communication, not me marketing myself on Facebook or creating relationships externally. This is all about creating relationships internally, manager to agent, agent to peer, that sort of thing. All right. One of my other favorite little concepts are the quick links. So we know that we're not exclusive in being the only vendor that a brokerage is going to have in place. So we like to create jump off points for that to really make it seamless. We feel like Backagent is the go-to, but we're not the only thing they're going to use throughout the day. So we're going to give them quick link options, and some of which we can even store username and passwords for. But they can come in here and they can click and jump out to TAR, to HAR, zip forms, or DocuSign, or whatever it is that they're using. A local broker could even go in and add to that and can put links to maybe public websites with school information or med districts and things like that. Those websites that the agents are frequently visiting, they've kind of got an internal favorite stored right within our site to help create those outpoints a little easier. So this is just showing some of the social posting here, the ability to bring in larger post feeds and collaborate internally. Managers love this, to be able to talk about events and things going on. This can link into calendar events and that sort of thing if we're doing scheduling. And that brings us to our calendar.
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
So I didn't realize about the quick links. Like, I think that's something we just have not utilized to its fullest extent. Like, that's pretty awesome. So I'm like, yay, we're going to be implementing more of that in there for the
awesome. Well, maybe as we go through this, you'll find a few other things. And that's the thing.
Some other things I'm like, oh, I haven't played with that, because y'all's system is so robust, and sometimes you find what you need as a manager and you just do that, and you don't realize all the other stuff out there. So this is some really cool tips. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I'm really kind of glad that you touched on that. I think that we have found that most brokers really do. They kind of hit the tip of the iceberg. Obviously, when you roll out a new system like this, the most important thing is, one, learning the software, kind of setting it up, and then two is making sure that your agents are successful and understand how to use the software. And a lot of times that tends to lend toward what it takes to get a deal done and get it funded, and kind of sometimes miss all of the other little key points that not only really enhance the experience for the agent, but to help streamline for the broker at the same time. So we're actually working on some fun marketing pieces and some even kind of global webinars that we're going to be offering coming up here pretty soon, so that we really can touch on these things a little better. We have our Facebook page now, or I'm sorry, our Facebook group now, our Backagent community group, which has been really helpful in getting some of that information out. But even so, we're kind of really ready to take that to the next level and kind of create this awareness campaign in 2018, so that brokers really do have the ability to come in and see all the additional features that really make it Backagent. Alrighty.
Awesome.
So this is just showing kind of some examples of scheduling events. So very soon, we're also going to have some event registration capabilities with even some options for paid events through the system. So that's been a huge request we've had lately, is to be able to not only bill agents and handle that aspect, but also do paid events through the system, so that all of that can be managed and maintained right through Backagent, as opposed to having to tie in separate vendors for that as well.
Oh, okay. Whoa, wait. Okay, I'm like getting excited now. Okay, so we invoice our agents, through QuickBooks, and it's fine. But what the problem we have as a small virtual brokerage firm, we don't have all these admins that a lot of these bigger ones have that use your system. But we have to remember what we call onboarding and offboarding of the agent. So if they leave or they come on, we got to make sure we set up the invoice for them or delete it so they don't keep getting it every year. So are you saying that you could have it set up where the brokerage firms that invoice their agents on a monthly or an annual basis is coming soon tied to your back agent?
Absolutely. I know.
I'm
We've
so excited.
had so many requests for it, and we're really excited. It'll probably be closer to the summer. So we've got some other big development pieces that we're trying to get out the door. One of the biggest changes that you've probably noticed already is this ability to create disbursements at the contract phase as opposed to waiting until pre-closing.
Right.
So that request was really just front and center. So we knew that was something we needed to kind of stop and make some adjustments in Backagent. Even before, we still know that the plan is to kind of bring on the concept of 4.0, which we talked about on our call the other day, is that, we know it's time and we're ready to kind of bring this, kind of bright new interface to Backagent, an update, if you will, changing the curtains. So we're working really hard in the background to get that really where it needs to be before we release that. And then coming shortly after that is several other pieces that we're really excited about, this agent billing concept being one of them. QuickBooks,
that's something that
different things
we've
like
been
that.
asking for years. So I'm super excited about that because it's hard running so many systems for us. Now you said something really quick, and I'm on this where you're on the screen about classes. So because we do a lot of webinars for our agents online, and we don't charge obviously, but for our agents, but you're saying that any classes, maybe it's a matrix class that we could link to the HAR site and have that on there, or any kind of continuing education classes that your brokerage firm's offering and it's paid for. So that's coming. Is that what I'm hearing? Make sure I'm understanding correctly.
Right. So I mean, you can obviously link to those things now, but from a YouTube / kind of Vimeo perspective, you have the ability now on the Learn section. And let me flip through really quick because I'm pretty close to one of those slides.
And
maybe not. So we'll kind of hold there.
We do use Vimeo, and we use the Learning Center for just basically hosting all the videos that we've created. And I don't think that's something. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but I think, and I may be wrong, and your other platforms that you're in competition against better, but I don't think that is something that the other ones have, except learning video tutorials on the system, not on a learning library.
Right.
And again, I may be wrong, but that was one thing that we were trying to take advantage of last year and start loading all of our from Vimeo up to you guys.
Right. And you can actually, and you're correct. It's not something that I'm aware of that is available in the other systems. And it might be, but most of them aren't so intranet focused. And we kind of feel like that's really important to give the agent, and the staff for that matter, lots of reasons to be in and engaged. And it brings up a really great point, and kind of the reason for this whole concept of the intranet, especially from a broker's perspective, and even from an agent's perspective, I would imagine, is that most brokerages are virtual. So you don't have physical locations. And even the ones that do have physical locations, the agents aren't sitting in the office all day. So they miss that collaboration, amongst their peers and their staff. They miss that tie to brand. And I really feel like that's so important when you really, as a broker and as a staff for a brokerage, can create, kind of that home environment where the agents not only want to work for you because it's a great commission plan, but because they really love, the concept of the brokerage and, its values and what it's offering and that sort of thing. So this tie back into brand, which is one of the reasons why we do custom brand the system, is that this isn't about, who is Backagent or what is Backagent. It's really all about creating this system that, is the CYA, as you mentioned, as far as kind compliance and transactions and submitting documents, but it's really also this kind of virtual ecosystem. So brokers and agents can log
Yeah, I think
in.
that's a great way to say that. And I'm going to steal that virtual ecosystem because it allows us as brokerage firms that may not have the economies of scale like other ones to basically
Mhm.
use your website, the internet, as we don't have to put it on the back end of our site. We were doing that. We were putting all this stuff and material on the back end of our website, that stuff we didn't need to be doing that we could have been doing on Backagent and putting it there and directing them to there and
Right.
creating that interaction there, because most agents don't go to a brokerage website, after they join. They just don't,
Right.
no matter how
Right.
much you incentivize them. But here, they're going to come in there at least to learn about what's going on, any cool classes. They're going to at least come in here and do a transaction. So, we learned that. It took us a while to kind of knock it through our hard heads to start really pushing all of our stuff to that, so it's more centralized for all the agents.
Right. And really ultimately at the end of the day, it just makes it easier for the agent. And, I imagine that that's what any broker wants is simplicity. And
Right.
they want, something that's going to be really easy for the agent to navigate and get into. And like I said, even if we're not doing it, to just quickly give them those jump off points, so that they don't have to remember 20 different websites to accomplish, 10 or 15 things. They come to Backagent, they know what they can do socially here as far as the intranet, signing up for classes, booking a conference room, scheduling a floor time or a shift-based type duty, creating transactions. And then when they need to jump into another system and, maybe into a robust CRM or something like that, we have a jump off point for that, and they can link right into it.
Okay, so here's real quick. When you said something about, I see on the screen, scheduling conference rooms or stuff. So what program that are you guys using for that?
So it's all internal.
Okay, it's all
It's all
internal.
completely in-house baked. And from the concept of scheduling a conference room, that's pretty open, and open resources there. I mean, you can come in and set times, add photos, policies, turn the lights off, replace water, that sort of thing.
Right.
So agents can jump in and say, hey, I'm going to book it from 9 to 5. Everyone else now can clearly see that. So if I'm an agent and, I'm sitting at Starbucks trying to decide where to meet with my client, I can jump in and quickly see, is the conference room A or B available? If it's not, maybe I need to meet at Starbucks or that sort of thing. So they can quickly see that without having to physically come into the office or call the office or go sign up on a
Great.
notepad.
I didn't realize you guys created this internally. I thought this was like an outside open API with either Simply Book Me or one of those. So
No,
cool.
it's all internal. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Same thing with the shift-based calendar. So that actually gives the ability for the broker or the manager to basically manage their floor time schedules or their desk duty type schedules. We look at it, we kind of come at it from a different concept, which sometimes feels a little scary to some of the offices, but then generally, once we're able to get them comfortable with the idea and move them in that direction, they absolutely love the way it takes so much off of their admin's plate for really managing this. So we kind of put it on the flip, where we allow a broker to go in, kind of build it out and create all these custom rules for how many shifts an agent can have, how they can swap or drop, add shifts, etc. You can even have alternates lists that are automatically notified. And then we kind of release it in spurts based on the way the agent sets it up for the previous or the upcoming month. That way, as an agent, instead of me being put into a randomized shuffle, and now I call the admin at the front desk because I'm like, Tuesday morning doesn't work and I can't do Fridays, and go mark me down for never having Thursday morning. And that's constantly shifting. I mean, we all know our schedules are constantly changing. Here, the way we do this is we allow the agent to kind of go in and choose what's going to work best for them up front, but kind of with a fair ration, if you will. So not one agent can go in and take all of Saturday morning or all of Friday afternoon. We kind of break that up and let them kind of jump in. And then managers, of course, have oversight to move and shift as need be. But it really does take a lot of the guesswork out of that for shift-based scheduling as well.
That is just amazingly awesome. I know when I managed a Better Homes and Gardens office years ago, that was the bane of my existence, is doing floor schedule. And then if somebody didn't show up, who was covering it? It was just a nightmare. And having my receptionist call to remind them, so this is just fabulous. I love it. I love it. And we don't
Yeah.
obviously use floor time scheduling, so I didn't know about this piece of it. So that's awesome.
Right. So we even have, from a virtual standpoint, we've got several brokerages that use this same concept, but with, phone rotations when they're transferring lines to cell phones and things like that virtually. So it really can touch on multiple points, all the way from a traditional brick and mortar type brokerage, even into a virtual sense, when they still want to have that kind of that concept of a floor time or a desk duty, or who's on first kind of thing.
Right. Cool.
Our document repository here is another aspect of the intranet that's really loved by agents and brokers alike. And this gives, and we kind of talked about this earlier, this hyper local feel of pulling down from the big brand intranets when they're there, or even from an independent standpoint. There's still tons of collateral. There's lots of offices out there that put a lot of money and effort into creating really strong collateral pieces and marketing pieces and things like that for their agents, and then find themselves putting it on the back end of a website where we feel it really fits best into their intranet, so that when they need a document, they can come in here, click, search, they can pull up a copy of the Errors and Omission Declaration page or the company W-9, or maybe they want to pull up a PDF on, doing a listing presentation or what have you. So we really kind of give them that space to store all of their in-house forms. So this is all the stuff they're not getting from, from Truck or from Zip Forms. This is that branded collateral stuff that really does make each brokerage unique. Alrighty, and kind of last but not least, we talked about the concept of this extranet, which is our Roundtable platform. So Roundtable is actually the ability to share documents from within Backagent out to our clients and vendors. So this is kind of an extension of the transaction management aspect of things. So clients and vendors can feel a part of the deal. They can log in virtually. It's all branded, of course, and be able to access documents, share notes back and forth, etc. And I kind of fibbed there a bit. I said last but not least, but I forgot we had Vendor Place on here as well. And we'll jump right into that so I can show you quickly. So our promote section or marketing section, here we do have some vendors tied in. So R.R. Donnelly over here off the Beltway in Houston does all of our print fulfillment. They do the print fulfillment for the Houston Chronicle as well. But this actually gives agents the ability to come in, because we've got that HAR feed coming into the system already, or the MLS, depending on what area they're in. It really does give them the ability to get past the blank page. So if they're not coming from a big brand that already has this kind of set up and available to them, for a local independent type brokerage, this is really a great option for them. We've got custom brochures and marketing material in here for the purpose of direct mail and print fulfillment. They can come in and create custom flyers and brochures. It pulls from their Backagent profile. It pulls from the MLS, fully populates everything. They can, of course, swap things around and move it, but they're not having to fully, kind of creatively create a flyer or a brochure on their own. And then, of course, outside of the pieces that Backagent actually sponsors and kind of creates, business cards and things like that, we've also got the ability for a broker to come in and create even more links out to their preferred vendors. So let's say, maybe you have a preferred sign vendor, or there's a company that does, really great virtual tours. Maybe, they're a preferred vendor, or you even have some sort of a rev share set up with them. You can come in and create kind of little property specs and sheets and direct links right out to that. So once again, really making it seamless for the agent. A new agent comes on board, or at that, a very green agent, and they just don't have these things in their back pockets like someone that's been in the business for 20 years. So, they don't typically know where to go to get closing gifts, or, door hangers, or where should I go for this? And so what are they doing? They're calling the front office. Whereas here you can just direct them back to promote and say, hey, click on the vendor tab in the vendor marketplace, and pretty much everything you need is right there.
I'm looking at that right now. So what you see is what you get, shopping cart.
Yeah.
So question, you sparked my interest on the business cards, because that's one thing that was always an issue with onboarding and, with managing a brick and mortar and then managing virtual is that we have to order all their cards, or if they need to reorder cards, they have to go through us, and it's a pain for us. So you're saying, to make sure I understand, is that if we have a vendor that is set up that we order cards through, we can have their link there and the agent can just go there?
Absolutely.
I need to get with you on that one separately.
Absolutely. Yes, for sure. Yeah, there's quite a bit that can be done, Amy, in that kind of that promote section, as far as linking to vendors and facilitating creating of promotional material and things like that. So it's kind of the unknown, untouched aspect of Backagent, and that's partially our fault for moving as quick as we do sometimes, and kind of somewhat, I don't want to use the word failing, but not giving as much awareness as we probably should. So that's really our push for 2018, is to make the brokers aware of what really is in their platform, what they really do have, because it is so much.
I'm just so excited that we did this, because I've learned so many things about Backagent that we're using separate things to make this happen, and they're not efficient Jennifer and I are all about efficiency. So this is just way more powerful things for us. And it's funny you have it on the screen, powerful integrations. This is just amazing. I'm so excited to kind of play with some more of the stuff. As I said, we as brokers get in ruts and don't play with stuff. And I think it's us as brokers' responsibility to inform our agents of the culture and what other things are in there. So
right.
See on the screen, Lone Wolf. So talk to me about y'all's integration with Lone Wolf.
Absolutely. So we've had it in place, I guess, a little over a year now. It's a kind of an additional upgraded feature. There are a few costs involved with it, and that's kind of just a pushback to, Lone Wolf for the cost of the integration. But basically, a broker that uses Lone Wolf can come in and set up a connection point between Backagent and Lone Wolf. So they actually have the ability to send transaction data and information with a click of a button from our system right over into the Broker Wolf platform to facilitate, all of the management of fees and cutting checks and things like that through there. So they still have the option of using disbursements through Backagent, or they can use them through Lone Wolf, so we can work with them either way on that. But they definitely have the ability to do that. We're hoping later, hopefully by the summer, we'll have, once we finish some of these other updates, that we'll have the same type of integration with QuickBooks. We have it with Profit Power as well. And then, of course, our basics, we talked about .loop and DocuSign and ZipForms Plus. And kind of one of the new directions we've been heading quite a bit over this last year is some other additional vendor integrations with people like Update or Utility Concierge. So the ability to actually add questions kind of baked right into the transaction that says, hey, do you want your client to be contacted for utility connections? So we have several different vendors tied in for that. And then through backend APIs, the agent can say, yes, contact my client, or no, don't. And that information can fire off over to the preferred utility vendor as well.
Well, we use Updater, and I love it. The only thing I would love to see, and it's probably, knowing y'all, it's already probably in the works. It's maybe like Q4, but I want delayed text messaging. So I know we can set up email reminders, but I'd love it to be more specified, not with an outside vendor, but for us to be able to say, hey, did you get your insurance provider set up? Did you do these things I told you to do? And have it being able to be either text or email option when we go under contract. I'm doing it manually myself right now. So do you understand what I'm saying? Is that
absolutely,
the ability to text, because so many of our clients are going only strictly to text.
Right. So we actually, without giving away too much or, ETAs, so we try to be a little bit careful with that of promising too much up front. However, I will tell you that with the rollout of 4.0 later this year, when we really have this kind of revamp of Backagent, kind of the mobilized version of it and everything fully rolled out, that's also going to follow suit with our extranet system with Roundtable. So we've got quite a few fun ideas tied in with how to really manage not only email managing, but also capturing of text messages and things through the use of Roundtable. So there's going to be some really fun things there.
Okay.
Even the ability to send custom checklist items into the Roundtable. So what I mean by that is you've got your agent checklist in Backagent, and that's all really important to you and the broker to see, kind of where you're at and what you're doing. But I can go in and also set checklist items that I want to show to my client. Hey, I did this from a marketing perspective. Hey, this was done here. And I may read it one way in Backagent that makes sense to me. It's my language. But then it's, a very client-friendly version of that showing in the Roundtable so that clients have this place to go to not only see tracks of messages, see their documents, get to resources and things, but they can also go in there and kind of be provided an update so that they can log in every day and they kind of have that tangible place to go and say, oh, great, I can see that my realtor has done this today, that they listed my home here, they did this marketing for me. So we're really excited about that as well.
I am too, and only because that as agents, we sometimes, unfortunately, things fall through the cracks with clients, and it's not on purpose. It's just, doing things. And then as a broker, I love this because I know that I'm forcing the agent to go back to Backagent and make that their dashboard, pretty much, if you will. So any other last minute or coming soon, trailers you want to tell us about Backagent? You've given us some insight. I'm really excited because this, I really feel, and maybe I'm a little biased with you guys, but you know how long I spent researching before we decided to go with you guys. It sounds like the platform that you guys, especially the 4.0, is really becoming the platform that I think brokerages across the country have been needing and wanting. And it just is like, it sounds like we're almost there. Now, of course, you know me, I'm demanding and I always want, things, but I'm loving what I'm seeing, stuff that I hadn't played with. And I can't wait till 4.0 comes. So you're thinking midsummer on the 4.0 release, right?
I'm hoping. So we've got some development things that we kind of have to get out the door with some of these changes with CFPB and things like that with the CDA disbursements and that sort of thing. So we've got to tie up some loose ends on that and really make that a streamlined process. And then full force will be back on finishing out 4.0 so that we probably won't roll it out in the summer. We more than likely would wait till the fall. Just because, who wants a rollout of new software and features in the middle of the busy summer months. But so yes, so we're close. We just definitely don't want to roll anything out until we feel like it is really where it needs to be. But we are by no means finished. So it's lots of fun things coming over this next year, and even into 2019, 2020. I mean, we're road mapped out pretty far with this kind of all of our ideas and the ways we like to innovate. So we're really excited about kind of where it's headed.
Perfect. Okay, so let's say somebody wants to use you guys. What's the last final tip for maybe a small little independent? Because I'm seeing a lot of and y'all have seen the trend that people went from franchises to small independent brokers, and some are still going back to franchises. But what was the final tip that you would tell somebody that's interviewing transaction platforms that's going to open their own brokerage firm? What's the kind of final tip that you would say what they need to look for?
I think they need to look for this concept, especially with a new brokerage. The concept of structured compliance is huge for them because typically a new brokerage is going to be hiring and bringing in a lot of green agents. So you've got a lot of agents that are excited and motivated, and the last thing they need is to be bogged down by paperwork and confusion. So I think a platform like this is a really great idea for that. And then the other would probably be, we get this a lot when we demo with new brokers is, wow, this might be too much for me. I'm too small. But I beg to differ with that. Especially if you've got, high hopes for growth, because this can be a great way to recruit agents as well. Agents want technology. They want, cutting edge and what's next. And we're really headed in that direction of offering even more and more agent tools over this next year. So it's to not be afraid of it, not be afraid of technology. be ready to dive in and kind of grasp it, because in the long run, it really is going to streamline so much for them. And that's with any technology platform, is to, kind of not be afraid to dive in. Just because we're a new brokerage and I've maybe got 5 agents doesn't mean that I'm not qualified or I shouldn't be using technology and I should be doing things the old school way. Completely disagree with that concept.
Well, and you know what? You talked about something that's kind of your platform, I think, from a broker as a small independent brokerage firm, I think is very reasonable cost wise for a broker to handle. You talked about the risk analysis and risk management with the documentation tools checklist. So those two things are super important. But one thing I liked about y'all's system, and one of the reasons we adopted it, was the ease of use for our agents to adopt. And so
Right.
we knew if we needed to get them on board with doing this, that it had to be easy, because most realtors, myself included, if they don't quickly learn how to do it, they're not going to do it. And so
Right.
that's something that any small brokerage firm that's looking at it definitely needs to look at ease of use. But if they are not adopting it, then they're agents. And you kind of kicked me in the biscuit today, reminding me going, I really need to go back and look at Backagent and use some more of the stuff that's out there that y'all have that we've just kind of let slide, because just running everyday brokerage firms, sometimes we lose track of that. So I really, really appreciate that. So my tip for any brokers out there already using Backagent or admins, go back and look at some of the things she suggested, because I'm really already got my list going of what I want to play with now.
Absolutely.
Anything else, Melissa?
No, I think we're good. We're just excited. So for any of you listening, if you're interested in Backagent, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. You can send us a link on our website. We typically host live webinars several times a week, but we also love to set up one-on-ones so that we can, really dive in with you and help create the platform that's going to work best for your brand. So absolutely.
The best way they can go is to backagent.com and just contact you guys from there.
They can. Backagent.com. There's a little link there to click to send. Basically, it generates a lead into us so that we can follow up with you. And if you can't find that, you can always just email sales@backagent.com and someone will immediately reach out and contact to set up a demo.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa. And any of those webinars out there, I'm definitely going to promote some more of those on Backagent with our agents as well, so that they can see some cool things y'all are doing. So thank you
Absolutely
so much. And tell the staff there hi for me.
You got it. Thanks so much, Amy.
Talk to you later. All right.
Bye-bye.